When government leaders prioritize politics over responsibility and business elites chase profit at any cost, the result is not stability. It is collapse.
I fear we are witnessing stage one of the end of the American government.
I'm really starting to think that Trump is purposely trying to destroy the U.S. economy and get America to collapse the way the USSR did.
America's economy is going to collapse in the next 30 years.
This government shutdown is not like the others. It's officially the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
Dollar Tree closing 600 stores this year. CVS closing 900 stores.
Because everything that he is doing is isolating America from its allies. He is destroying trade on the world stage with us and all of the people we do trade with.
Outback Steakhouse has already closed 40 of its restaurants.
They're not fixing the system. They're breaking it on purpose.
The American economy, once seen as the engine of opportunity, has been weakened by years of short-sighted decisions. In government halls, policies were crafted that favored the powerful while leaving ordinary citizens exposed. Promises of reform were made, but accountability was often ignored. Regulations meant to safeguard the public were watered down, delayed, or abandoned altogether. And while leaders spoke of prosperity, millions of families were left struggling to make ends meet. At the same time, certain business leaders played their own role in this downfall. Driven by greed, they inflated markets, manipulated systems, and pursued short-term gains while ignoring long-term consequences. Boardrooms celebrated record profits even as workers faced stagnant wages, rising costs, and dwindling security. The pursuit of wealth for the few came at the expense of stability for the many. Together, these forces created a fragile foundation, one that looked strong on the surface but was cracking underneath. And when the collapse came, it was not just numbers on a chart. It was jobs lost, homes foreclosed, savings wiped out, and futures rewritten. Behind every statistic were families forced into hardship, communities hollowed out, and a nation questioning how those entrusted with responsibility could allow such devastation. This is not simply a story of economic failure. It is a story of misplaced priorities, of arrogance, of decisions that favored the few while leaving the many to bear the cost. It is a reminder that when government neglects its duty and business leaders exploit their power, the consequences ripple through every household, every community, and every generation. The collapse of the American economy is not just about dollars and cents, it is about trust broken, opportunities stolen, and lives disrupted. And as we reflect on this moment, we must ask, how did those in power allow it to happen, and what lessons must be learned to ensure it never happens again?
America's economy is going to collapse in the next 30 years. And no, I didn't say this. I actually think it's going to collapse sooner. So apparently, Mr. Powell went on 60 Minutes last night, the night before, a couple days ago, whatever, and basically said that short term, things are fine, money-wise, in the United States of America. But 30 years from now, that's when we should expect to see absolute heck on earth take place in the United States of America. Primarily because of the national debt that we have, which is caused primarily from the Fed, Congress, public servants, and just spending in America in general. So basically this means that all the decisions they're making short term is to kind of get us through this. And by the time these people retire, they don't have to take any accountability for anything that they've contributed to in the United States of America. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments.
Dollar Tree closing 600 stores this year. CVS closing 900 stores through the end of this year. Walgreens closing 150 stores. Outback Steakhouse has already closed 40 of its restaurants. UPS is cutting 12,000 jobs in 2024. Citigroup cutting 20,000 positions as well. eBay, why not? 1,000 jobs lost there. Microsoft cutting 1,900 positions. Expedia cutting 1,500. Cisco cutting 4,000. Apple cutting 600. It's entertainment too. Regal Cinemas closing 429 locations. Kroger's grocery store chain shutting down 413 stores. It's not affordable to be in retail anymore. Foot Locker closing 400 stores by 2026. Macy's will close 150 locations by 2026. Walmart, already this year, has closed 6 of its supercenters. While the U.S. Senate has passed nearly $100 billion to send to other countries that Joe Biden just signed yesterday, most can't even find Ukraine or Israel on a freaking map, let alone Taiwan. We're paying money that we don't have as our economy goes down the toilet and American jobs die. Of course, we know we're going to ban TikTok so nobody can talk about it freely.
I'm really starting to think that Trump is purposely trying to destroy the U.S. economy and get America to collapse the way the USSR did, so that him and his billionaire buddies can buy everything up for pennies on the dollar and turn us into a full-blown oligarchy the way Russia did after the USSR collapsed. That's the only thing that makes sense in my brain, because everything that he is doing is isolating America from its allies. He is destroying trade on the world stage with us and all of the people we do trade with. I mean, China's putting exports on restrictions on all of their rare earth exports at this point. There's literally nothing that he's done since he took office that is good for the American people or the American economy. Everything that he has done has been for billionaires and has been at the detriment of the U.S. as a country. Like, our entire workforce is being decimated now as he is sending a whole bunch of people out of the country who used to do jobs like construction and farming. So we're going to have a food shortage because there's not enough people picking the food. We're going to have a worse housing problem because there's not enough people building the houses. And it literally seems like everything that he is doing is just designed to destroy this country. And yet the MAGA people are still licking his boots. It's wild.
Government is lying to us. This economy is about to collapse. The best thing you could do is lock in, get comfortable, and enjoy the ride. Every industry is about to burst. Take a look at the car industry. $1.5 billion worth of cars sitting on lots that nobody buying. The interest rate is all fucked up. You're paying $40,000, $50,000 for an average fucking vehicle. People are stuck in mortgages that they don't want to fucking be in no more. The houses are cheaply built. Every time you turn around, something fucking breaking. Hey, yo, and let's not forget these fucking commercial buildings and shit that people aren't using no more. They don't resort to Zoom and Vonage and shit like that. They giving up on a payment on that shit. The banks can't sell them shits to nobody, so the banking industry is all fucked up. And yo, this country is fucked up right now, man. And anybody thinking that the government is coming to save them, they can't even save their fucking self, bro. The government is shut the fuck down right now. Millions of people are about to go without food during Thanksgiving month. Yo, this shit is real out this motherfucker, man. And people walking around not knowing what the fuck is going on or believing everything gonna be alright. This is a fucking cardboard economy. Buy now, pay later. But where you gonna get the money to pay later? The job's not fucking hiring. Yo, I'm telling you right now, I don't know what the fuck is around the corner, but I'm scared. I'm scared about what the fuck is around this corner, man. I don't think any of us walking on earth right now have ever witnessed what the fuck is going on in our country. And this shit is fact.
The cracks in the American economy did not appear suddenly. They were built over years of neglect as government leaders ignored warning signs and failed to act with urgency. Instead of strengthening protections for ordinary citizens, policies often favored corporations and financial elites. The result was a system that looked stable on the surface but was hollow underneath, fragile foundation waiting to give way. And when it did, the people who suffered most were not those in power, but everyday families who trusted that the system would keep them safe.
This government shutdown is not like the others. It's officially the longest shutdown in U.S. history. People think it's just about politics and budgets, but it's not. It's about control, collapse, and financial reset. They're not fixing the system, they're breaking it on purpose. Everything is becoming so unaffordable and we're living paycheck to paycheck. Most of us are struggling to survive. And I believe as we struggle, they're going to present their solution, which will be digital currency, which will give them full control. Look around. People are losing jobs to AI, the dollar is losing value, and inflation keeps growing. Every shutdown, every crisis, every fix that they create moves us closer to a digital system. Other countries have already shown us how it works. Nigeria has forced digital cash. China ties spending to a social credit score. Europe is preparing the digital euro and is already enforcing the digital ID. In America, we are next. So I don't think this shutdown is temporary. I think it's transformational. It's designed to destroy trust in the old system so they can roll out the new one. New system will be completely digital. The Bible warned us about a time that would come that no one could buy or sell without the mark. We are watching that prophecy unfold right now in real time. This isn't conspiracy, this is prophecy. And while the world looks for answers in politics, the real answer has always been spiritual. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. We can't escape what's coming, but we can trust in Him. Everything happening right now is part of an agenda, but it was also written about long before it began. So repent and turn to Jesus. He's coming soon.
The other day I made a video and I said that I fear we are witnessing stage 1 of the end of the American government with the shutdown. And I said I don't see the government reopening. It just doesn't seem feasible. I also said in that video that this is an intentional hostage politics situation, right? Now the banks. If you can't directly correlate how the banks are the main foundation of the American economy, the Fed's pumping billions of dollars overnight into the banks is not a coincidence. It is a red flag that has been happening, and this is like the Hail Mary. Like, let's pump them. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a cure, but the government is still shut down. Federal employees are still laid off. That means people aren't making payments to the banks. They aren't purchasing new capital, new anything, right? Go larger than that. Federal shutdown. Billions go into SNAP every month for people to buy groceries, which it goes into our economy. People aren't going to be doing that. Large corporations are going to start laying people off, which means less people receiving payments, which it's all connected. It's all connected. And I don't give a fuck what you say. This government shutdown is to protect pedophiles. Let's keep it very cut and dry. They don't want to vote on releasing the Epstein files. All of this to protect pedophiles. And mostly to protect the biggest one, which is running the country currently. We are witnessing, the other day, let me backtrack to what I just said. I said, I fear we are witnessing. No, we are witnessing the fall of the American government. Like, it's happening in real time in front of our eyes right now. We are witnessing it firsthand. Like, this is happening. Like, the collapse is happening. We are in it. It is crumbling. It is what it is at this point. We got to let it crumble. There's no fixing what's going on. There's no fixing it. And yeah, he's like, we'll partially fund SNAP this month. Like, are you? Because the government's still going to be shut down next month. It's not. I don't see it reopening. This is the fall of the American government. The rebuild is going to be, wow.
I frankly don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I don't know how much longer my friends can keep doing this. Pretend I'm not eating a toaster strudel. That is super exemplary of everything I'm about to say right now. But me and my friends are in our 30s. We're college educated. We work in the tech industries, marketing, and either our jobs have been replaced by AI or our employers have let us go to cut the numbers before the holidays or whatever it may be. in anticipation of a quite different economy that we're about to experience. I don't know how much more I can do it. We're expecting all these tariffs. We're gonna see retaliatory tariffs from other countries. I already cannot afford to live. I can't afford to pay my student loans. I can't afford to pay the credit card debt that I've had to take out. When I got COVID, I got a bunch of medical debt. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not this type of person. I am so resourceful. We are the fucking resume coaches, dude. We are the fucking managers. We are the people in charge. And now it's either you're a fucking billionaire, you're a CEO of a company, or you're fucking unemployed, I swear to God. And if you are employed, you're like terrified of getting let go. My friends and I are looking around at each other. We're like so smart. We've always had our shit together. We've always had money. Like, we're all depleted. We're like beyond depleted, and I don't know how much worse it could possibly fucking get. And I don't know what they want us to do about it. I can't even fucking imagine being younger than me and trying to get a job. At this point, like, I have so much debt from school, and I think I have to go back. I think I have to go back to school. I'm hoping I can get a scholarship or something, but my field of marketing has very quickly been replaced by AI. One of my last roles, I was training AI tools. So which, as an aside, I just saw a content writing position that was simply to train AI. And they were paying $20 an hour. And they required a master's. I'm not even fucking kidding. I have a picture of it somewhere. Yeah, all these job postings are like, you need a master's in like exceptionally specific field of study, and in taxation of foreign countries or something. It's like, what? And then they pay like $20 an hour. Anyway, all of the pay offerings for my field are now what they were when I started in the field, right? So like when I started at, I don't know, like $60,000 or whatever. That is now the fucking cap at these places. That is a cap. What do you want me to do? You want me to die? You want me to die? It feels like my government wants me to fucking die. If you don't feel like that, congratulations. You made it.
Business leaders played their part as well, chasing profits while disregarding the consequences of their actions. Markets were inflated, risks were hidden, and decisions were made with little thought for the long-term health of the economy. Boardrooms celebrated record gains while workers faced stagnant wages and rising costs. This imbalance created a widening gap between the wealthy few and the struggling many. When collapse came, those who had profited walked away with golden parachutes, while ordinary citizens were left to pick up the pieces of a broken system.
I want to make a video that is very high level in finance, but needs to be redirected to as many eyeballs as possible, because this is eventually going to affect everyone, including yourself. And this is not a doom and gloom. This is simply just a high level overview of what is coming and what the impacts will have on your life. I've made videos about this stuff before, but they've been very in-depth. So I want to make a video that is much higher level overview to give everyone an understanding for themselves and how they can prepare. On August 11th, the United States national debt surpassed $37 trillion. Now, you might ask, well, why is this really important? Well, October 2025, or September, I guess you could say the end of September, is when the national debt, or essentially the fiscal year 2025, ended. And we ended at a debt of $37.6 trillion, which means in a month and a half, we added another $600 billion to the national debt. The United States economy, when you look underneath the surface, it isn't doing too hot. Again, I'm not going to go into the weeds, but when you look into the data, it's really not actually doing that hot. And with that, we have 10 tech companies that are keeping the economy, quote unquote, afloat. Problem with this is it's very much looking very bubblish, very 2001, very 1929-esque. Now, the problem with this is the United States government has way too much debt. We are at something called a debt to GDP ratio of 125%. I think it's a little more now, like 125.4%. The reality of the situation is, if the United States economy takes a turn downward, because these companies aren't able to produce the results that they're essentially being invested into at the valuations that they have, or essentially you can put it in terms of like they're looking as shiny as they can be, and if they're not as shiny as they actually are later down the road, then everything in the market could essentially pop. Now the problem with this is the United States economy, or the United States government, has been a backstop. The United States government does not have the financial capability to backstop this bubble popping. And the genuine concern is that if this bubble pops, the United States government will not be able to fund, it will not be able to bring in the money that is able to then fund the government, the debt itself. And so typical things like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, the largest expenses to the government will have to start dwindling. Now, if this gets even more severe, how does this start to affect the socio-political sphere? And what if the money itself for things like subsidies of energy, like oil, or subsidies for things like food, what if that starts getting affected and farmers can't produce the food that we need, and oil companies can't produce the energy that we need, and we have essentially a sell-off and the inability to fuel the people that we have? What happens then? And genuinely, I would typically say, hey, the United States will be able to get through this. Humans have ingenuity, and we have the ability to see the problems, be able to work around the problems, create solutions to the problems. But the only caveat to this is when you have a problem, it tends to be something that's a little more concrete. But what we're talking about now is not a concrete problem. What we're talking about is a system failure. A point where the actual government, the entire thing that we know of collectively as what we all bank on as being secure, pops and it goes away. And that's the genuine concern. And so the spiral looks like this. The hype gets real in artificial intelligence that it's going to be able to boost productivity and help us grow out of the national debt. Then the productivity, the AI bubble pops instead of it being a real boom. And then that spirals over to the government not having the capital or the money to be able to fund the debt. And then the debt spirals, and then the debt causes the United States government to go insolvent. And then the entire populace turns into a socio-political, violent collapse. This definitely isn't a conversation you want to have over a dinner table. But again, more people need to be aware of this situation, because it is a process that is playing out right in front of our eyes. So let's talk about it now before the situation actually is around the corner or occurring.
The collapse of the American economy is not just a story about numbers, charts, or financial markets. It is a story about people. It is a story about families who lost their homes, workers who lost their jobs, communities that lost their lifelines, and generations who lost their sense of security. Behind every statistic lies a human being whose life was disrupted, whose dreams were shattered, whose future was rewritten. And as we reflect on this collapse, we must confront the uncomfortable truth. It did not happen by accident. It was the result of choices made by government leaders who failed to protect their citizens, and by business elites who prioritized profit over responsibility. For years, warning signs were ignored. Government officials spoke of prosperity while quietly dismantling safeguards. Regulations meant to protect the public were weakened, delayed, or abandoned. Oversight was neglected, accountability was dismissed, and promises of reform were left unfulfilled. Instead of building a system that served the many, decisions were made that favored the few. The halls of power echoed with rhetoric about growth, but the reality for ordinary citizens was stagnation, rising costs, and dwindling opportunities. At the same time, certain business leaders played their own role in this downfall. Driven by greed, they inflated markets, manipulated systems, and pursued short-term gains while ignoring long-term consequences. Boardrooms celebrated record profits even as workers faced stagnant wages, rising rents, and mounting debt. The pursuit of wealth for the few came at the expense of stability for the many, and when collapse came, those who had profited walked away with golden parachutes, while ordinary citizens were left to pick up the pieces of a broken system. The consequences were devastating. Jobs disappeared overnight. Families were forced out of their homes. Savings built over decades were wiped out in an instant. Communities that once thrived were hollowed out, leaving behind empty storefronts and broken promises. The collapse was not just economic, as it was social, emotional, and generational. It eroded trust in institutions, deepened inequality, and left millions questioning whether the system had ever truly been designed to serve them. And yet, even in the midst of this devastation, there is resilience. Ordinary people, the ones most affected by the collapse, found ways to endure. They adapted, they rebuilt, they supported one another. They reminded us that strength does not come from government policies or corporate profits, but from the human spirit. Their stories are not just about loss, they are about survival. They are about courage in the face of uncertainty, about hope in the face of despair, about determination in the face of betrayal. The collapse of the American economy forces us to confront deeper questions about society itself. What does it mean when government leaders neglect their duty to protect citizens? What does it mean when business elites exploit their power without regard for consequences? What does it mean when the pursuit of profit outweighs the value of human dignity? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. They push us to rethink the role of government, the responsibility of business, and the meaning of justice in a society that claims to value opportunity. In the broader picture, this collapse highlights the need for systemic change. It shows us the importance of accountability, of fair policies, of compassionate leadership. It shows us the consequences of decisions made without regard for the human cost. It shows us the urgency of building a system that values people not just as workers or consumers, but as individuals with dignity, with dreams, with lives beyond the economy.